Hi, Margaret.
Hello, Gerhard. So wonderful to see you.
It's so great to see you. Let's talk about mindset. What is the mindset and how can we become our inner CEO?
The sales world and cycle can be so up and down, right? So if that's not something that you master, you're going to be at the whims of what's going on, for you in sales. And sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down. So we really need to master our own mindset so that we can get back on track, because inevitably things aren't always going to go the way that we want them to go, particularly in sales.
Right now, a lot of things looking down, especially in the tech sector. There are a lot of layoffs. I have friends that got laid off from tech companies unexpectedly, and they're looking for jobs, and they're going on 30 interviews and get rejected 30 times. What is your recommendation, or what can those people do to generate hope and approach each new interview as a fantastic opportunity?
This is, always easier said than done, but I think it's so important that we see challenges for what they are, which is a great opportunity for a new chapter for us, right? Doesn't always feel that way in the moment. So if we can get a little bit of an arm's length distance to that in the moment and recognize, I know I'm going to be on the other side of this eventually, and it will lead to whatever my next path is. So that way it doesn't feel so desperate. That can help us to deal with those really intense, stressful emotions in the moment that don't feel so good.
I think one way to reframe the challenge is to be grateful for every rejection. Somebody looks for a job for $200,000 a year and gets rejected 100 times. Every time he or she gets rejected, that person can say after the rejection, thank you for the $2,000.
I like that. It's valuable to continue to flex that muscle,
Right.
Be rejected and build that resilience.
I think another sort of mental technique is to go into radical acceptance of your situation. A lot of people say, I don't understand why I got fired, or I don't understand why I can't find a job. And by accepting the situation, you begin to understand your situation better. And I accept that I don't have a job right now, and my job right now is to work 100% in finding a new job so I can get to where I want to be quicker.
That is so insightful, Gerhard. And I will say it reminds me of a personal story, more for myself around the beginning of the pandemic. I am such an extroverted person who needs to be around people. That's where I get my energy from. It's where I feel fulfilled. And when I couldn't be around people, I just fought tooth and nail. How can I get out of this situation? How can I change this? I hate this. I don't accept it. I was spinning my wheels and spending all this energy not accepting the reality of the situation. And when I finally did, that's where I found I was finally able to heal and move past.
The next step is understanding. Once we accept it, we understand it, we open to understanding it better. And then we can make the next step, which is change.
This is a difficult thing to do. It is not easy. I'm constantly reminding myself of this same advice. So for those who are listening, please know that Gerhard and I both have tremendous empathy for you and are also telling these things in the mirror to ourselves all the time.
Yeah, and it's also hard to talk about it with other people. I remember doing an interview with Dr. Abraham Selesnik at Harvard Business School, and he says that disappointment is very isolating. People sort of pull back and they tend to get depressed. And yet when you work through it and accept it, then disappointment can become the cradle of ambition. The other thing that makes it isolating, he said, was disappointment is associated with rage. And rage is not easily being discussed. I cannot easily say, hey, I'm totally enraged at the fact that I got fired, or I'm totally enraged that I lost that big sale. And all those negative emotions, anger and disappointment, prevent people from looking at the whole range of possibilities that is right in front of them.
And when we find our value for ourselves also outside of our professions, when your self-worth is not tied up solely in that, that frees you up a lot. And so I would say that it's really important to remember and identify where your value comes from. That's going to be different for everybody. I think it's important to have that foundation too, because otherwise, if you're putting all of your self-worth on your job or your sale or your ability to be employed, well, that's something that is very precarious and can be taken away from you.
Let's ask ChatGPT, please create an acronym with the word disappointment and have every letter stand for a disappointment management technique that's helpful.
I love it.
Sure. Here's an acronym with the word disappointment. Don't take it personally. I. Identify the root process. Speak your mind respectfully. A. Accept what you can't change. P. Practice gratitude. P. Put things in perspective. O. Open up to someone you trust. I. Investigate alternative solutions. N. Nurture self-care. T. Take action when possible. N. Manage expectations. E. Embrace the lesson. N. Never give up. T. Trust the process.
It's so spooky how good that is. We figured this out last time on our one, and it was trust. But the fact that you come up with all of those for disappointment, a much longer word, is very impressive.
Well, I think we have covered a very touchy subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it's obvious we all get disappointment at one time or another. And it reminds me that somebody once said that a good salesperson is a merchant of hope.
Perfect. I'll stitch it on a pillow.